you. Can you do that with every joke for me?
Ryan's jokes? Yeah. I mean, for most people, they need explaining anyway. So.
Raised by Wolves felt like a mix of three of these four things: Enemy Mine, Battlestar Galactica, Prometheus, and Married with Children.
Raised by Wolves was a TV show that felt like an awesome science fiction movie.
Raised by Wolves, it captured my attention but then let me down. And it had no literal wolves.
Was that the letdown?
Let's go with yes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. With us, as always, leading the charge, the tip of the spear, the pebble that creates the avalanche, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg.
Thank you.
I mean, like an avalanche in a good way.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay. And we also have actress and content creator, YouTube action star Daralyn Kelleher.
Hello.
My name's Ryan T. Husk. I've got David Bowie behind me, kind of. And today we are doing a review of Raised by Wolves, which is on HBO Max. First episode is available on YouTube. So we watched that. And the
first of that.
If you want us to watch the first episode of a series, any series, literally any series, could have been 100 years ago, could be one that's coming out next week, could be one that you wrote, maybe. Then all you have to do is... Sorry, I couldn't find That's the second time series yelling.
Well, because you're saying series.
Oh.
And so you say, "Oh, did you want me to talk to you?" I don't know what the accent is.
It's South African. So anyway, if you want us to watch a show, then just say WTF Raised by Wolves, which we just did.
Yeah, so we did that one already, so you can't do that one.
Okay, then WTF Transformers or WTF Smurfs, and that means watch the first. And put that in the comments below. Please comment in the comments below that and or what you thought of Raised by Wolves. Let's get into it, shall
WTF He-Man, WTF Thundercats. Ryan likes 80s cartoons a lot. So.
Yeah, who doesn't? WTF Dino Saucers. Bionic 6.
I don't know where we'd find that, though. So.
Me neither, but if somebody does. Also, Michael likes to remind us at the beginning of every show, too.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
To smash that bell icon.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot what I was supposed to say. Don't forget to raise the subscription icon by the wolves. And also click the bell icon for wolf notifications. I'm trying to tie it into the show somehow. It's not really working very successfully.
No, that was very funny. And Daralyn said she was disappointed there were no wolves, so you're providing them for her.
Yeah, see, I'm trying.
Thank you.
So the way we like to start off this podcast after all this awkward banter is we like to contrast what we expected versus what we got.
I thought we'd like to give a summary of the show.
Right. We like to give a summary of the show first. Go ahead, Mike.
Raised by Wolves centers around two androids, father and mother, tasked with raising human children on Kepler 22b, a planet after the Earth was destroyed by a great war. In this episode, after Earth is rendered uninhabitable, androids start a settlement and a new family with human embryos on the planet Kepler 22b.
Now that's juicy.
Yep. Sink your wolf teeth into that.
Canines. So now we like to contrast, I bet, what we expected versus what we got. So first things first, before you watch this episode, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, what did you expect?
I had some pretty good expectations. I had seen the trailer for this show on Instagram while I was scrolling. And I was like, oh, what is this? A new TV show. I must remember this for that podcast that I do. And then I sent it to Ryan, and then I watched the trailer at least, and I was like, Ridley Scott directed this. Oh, wow, that's going to be amazing. And then like you have all these shots of like space and planets and like rocket ships and cool science fiction stuff. And I was like, I bet that's going to be right down my alley.
Well, Daralyn, what did you expect? Did you think it was going to be right down your alley too? I thought it was right up your alley. Isn't that the way that works?
It can be up or down, I guess.
Maybe you're right. What did you expect before you watched it, Daralyn?
I did expect a connection to my alley. I love fantasy shows or movies. I love being brought to another world. I love anything futuristic or absurd, but I like clarity too. And I don't think this provided that all the way. It did a little, but
Let's just focus on what you expected first.
I expected clarity.
And wolves, obviously. So
that, of course, like, come on, the title. But I just to wrap up what I'm saying, I'm just saying that when I say clarity, I mean, say, in a fantasy world, rules of magic need to be explained. And I didn't really get that fully.
Well, I'll tell you what I expected. I believe Michael Kenyon Rosenberg sent me the trailer and said, dude, there's this thing we should watch, right? And I was like, I think my response was, oh, I don't like watching stuff that's about kids. Because I think like the trailer just showed that they're like showing like kids, and so they're like, oh, we have to save the kids or whatever it was. I don't really remember. So I didn't really expect much because I honestly hardly remember the trailer at all. It was like a 2-minute trailer, and I don't remember any impression other than there were a bunch of children in the trailer or something. So I had very, very little in the tank as far as expectations. I knew it was Ridley Scott. So I was like, okay, so that means it theoretically probably shouldn't be too bad, although it's not like he's only made masterpieces. Anyway, so that's what I expected. Not too much. I kind of went in as a slightly blank slate, but I was concerned that I may be disinterested. But that's what we expected. What did you get, Michael?
I'll just say, for people that don't know, Ridley Scott directed Alien and Aliens. He directed Blade Runner. So some really hard hitters of science fiction.
Right.
The Martian,
Prometheus.
Gladiator, Prometheus.
Also some medium hitters like Prometheus.
Oh yeah, Prometheus wasn't my favorite. I mean, we're not talking about movies here though, but we're talking about first episodes of TV shows. But yeah, he's directed some heavy hitters of science fiction movies, and I felt like he brought that. Like I said in the opening, he brought that to this show because it felt like a movie. It felt like I was watching a short movie that is probably going to turn into like I guess right now there's only 5 episodes out, is from what I saw on HBO Max when I looked it up there. But then the first season is 10 episodes. So it feels like at least it's going to be a 10-hour long movie. And then if they extend it for more seasons than that, it's just going to become a very long movie. But I was blown away by this show. Blown away. Every shot looked like cinematic and looked like a beautiful portrait, like a masterpiece of cinema. I thought that the premise, the whole, I felt like the premise was fresh. It wasn't something, I mean, it's not like we've never seen humanoid androids before, or like androids with that bleed, and android. I mean, we've seen Battlestar Galactica has human style androids, and even Blade Runner has androids that are very humanistic. They've got guts and blood, and it's hard to tell them from humans. But in this one, obviously they bleed white, so that's a dead giveaway that they're not a human. But the thing is, these androids, they have emotions. Mother, when her children are dying, she feels it. Like when her children are sick or hurting, she feels it. She's scared that they're going to take her child away. I'm probably getting too much into it, but I guess what I'm saying is what I got was something magnificent.
Sounds like you liked it.
Maybe. We'll have to see at the end. So.
Well, Daralyn, so you expected wolves and clarity. What did you get? Did you get wolves and clarity?
No, neither. Yeah, but I mean, what I did get, well, sure, it's beautiful looking. That's great. I love an aesthetically pleasing image, like the next guy. But what else did I get? It's an intriguing premise. But it would if it were a show about being raised by actual wolves, I thought I would have thought it was cool. But yeah, no, it's cool. Like I was definitely engrossed in it, and it did feel like a little mini movie. It's just, I think there could have been a little more payoff because it is a show, and yeah, it's gonna continue on, but still a little bit of payoff, but I think would have been nice.
Ryan?
Oh, so Daralyn was slowly pulling away during that fest. She was just like, how weird is this going to get, and how far can I get from it? Well, I'll tell you what I got.
Where did you got?
What I got was something that it was interesting. I guess what I can say is that it kept my attention. It did keep my attention, and the way I know that is because I take notes. Just to kind of remember everything that we see, and so I know little things I want to hit, and in case I forget something, I can check my notes. I took the most notes, probably by far, than I've ever taken for anything. So that tells me that there were the most amount of things that I thought were important, or that I wanted to remember, or that I thought were interesting. Which is really depressing Daralyn right now. She really is like, how could they think this about this show? There were no wolves in it. So it was a very interesting, it's hard for me to say whether it was wholly enjoyable or if it was wholly exciting or fascinating, because it wasn't completely those things. It was very interesting. It kept my attention, and I liked it.
A little bit of all those things.
Exactly. It was certainly better than what I expected from the trailer, but there was nothing exciting about it. The bottom line was that it was telling a story. It felt less like a sci-fi show and more like it was just telling us a story, and I like that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
That's what I thought.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's I did take the most notes. Like I said, there were the most amount of poignant parts.
Are you guys sure that you watched the show Raised by Wolves directed by Ridley Scott that was on HBO and that they showed this first episode on YouTube?
Yeah. Why?
I don't know. I feel like I must have watched a completely different show than the two of you, because I was just completely blown away the whole time.
I liked it very much. I'm just it's just hard for me to categorize exactly what was great about it and what I think it was just very good in a lot of ways. It was just solid. It was a good storytelling. Like, that's what I liked. It was a good story. Everything else was cool, like beautiful imagery, amazing planet that I love to look. I love to see the different planets, and I started wondering, where did they shoot this? Then I saw things that kind of looked like Joshua trees, so I thought maybe they shot at Joshua Tree National Forest or somewhere in that region. And it did remind me, by the way, the answer to the trivia at the beginning of what are the three out of four things out of Enemy Mine, Battlestar Galactica, Prometheus, and Married with Children. Married with Children was the one it reminded me of the least, but it did remind me of Enemy Mine.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in the relationship between the two characters. By the way, great sci-fi movie, but just that the planet reminded me of that. You know, it's just people trying to survive on this mostly barren, kind of gray-looking planet with harsh elements. I got an Enemy Mine feel, Battlestar Galactica with the synthetic life forms, and Prometheus just in the look. The look and feel. I liked it a lot. I did.
But I was blown away. like every moment kind of blew me away. And in fact, like you were saying, like I took a lot of notes too. It's like I felt like every 2 minutes I had to pause it to be like, oh, I have to type a bunch of notes. Oh, there's so much happening. Oh, right. Man.
And I want to be clear. I did like it, guys. Actually, it's more like I liked it so much. That's why I'm being hard on it.
Did you pause it every 2 minutes, or did you fast forward every 2 minutes?
I did none of the above.
So let's talk about, I want to talk about, there's this war that they talk about, and then they show.
Got a glimmer of it.
Where is it? Okay, Mother, no, that's not it. Here it is. Mother, she's a fantastic actress, by the way. I don't remember seeing her in anything else. I think she's like a Scandinavian actress or something like that from the things that I've seen her in on IMDb. But she turns into a golden, like a Metropolis or C-3PO kind of robot, and then she just starts wreaking havoc like later on in the show. But just in the middle of the show, she has this dream about the war, and it's like a savage war going on, and it seems like from what the context that I gathered, it was from this sect of
religions
called the Mithraic, right. The Mithraic religion, and then the atheists, and then we see some of these Mithraic people. I guess they came on an ark, and we see these Mithraic people. One of them's a cleric. The other ones are warriors. They've got their own android who's like their servant slave.
Right.
It's just the whole mythology that they built around this show is just amazing to me, that they put that much detail into it. The writer of this show, by the way, is Aaron Guzikowski, who has written not that much. He wrote this. He wrote some other movies that I've never heard of before. Prisoners, Contraband, Papillon, which Ryan will tell you means butterfly.
It sure does.
It's French, because he's a French guy. But then he wrote a couple other shows. But then this is like, I think the big show that he wrote, and like worked together with Ridley Scott to produce it. But just the imagination of this show just blew. Like I said, everything. I feel like
you do say that a lot. Yeah.
I feel like I'm gushing a little bit because it literally blew me away. So
right.
I feel like I'm not making any points here. It's just coming out. It's just vomiting out of me because I loved it so much. So.
Well, I think for me, I'm a tiny bit harder on it because I feel like the end was not as good as the first 70 or 80%. Once, there are a couple points there. One was that when you start mentioning like cleric and religion and stuff like that, that's kind of what makes this thing its own, it's more of sci-fantasy almost than science fiction, because, it starts to bleed into fantasy a little bit, which makes it more interesting to me. But then it starts kind of going, I don't want to say off the rails, but it makes a left turn when suddenly I was calling her Silver Surfer Where at first we have like this beautiful story and this harsh, to me, it was all about the story. It felt like we just read an epic novel in 30 minutes. But then it takes that turn when they get visited and she turns into Silver Surfer. And then I was like, oh, now she's turning into an X-Men. Suddenly she's an X-Men. She's flying everywhere she wants. She's going, blah, blah, and scream. And I was just kind of like, it almost changed tones, you know, like the show itself made a left turn and not completely out of the realm of, you know, that new world that we're watching. But, you know, I'm sure they'll explain it later. I'm sure it'll all make sense. It'll all be great. But what I'm saying is that was a little bit, you know, it definitely took a left turn in tone and almost in genre. Suddenly I felt like I was watching the X-Men. But the word that you said mostly that I wanted to bring up was mythology. Mm-hmm. And that's why I knew you would like this, was because they're creating this mythology in this series, number one. And number two, the biggest thing in universe is their mythology, you know, kind of like Battlestar Galactica. That's why it made me feel so much like Battlestar Galactica, because it's all about their religion, their mythology, their stories. They even quote what seems to be some kind of scripture where they said the one child out of 12 on the barren land. Right. Or what, remember that? That was clearly a quote from whatever their Bible thing was.
Right. An orphan boy? Could he be the prophet?
Daralyn, what did you think of the mythology of this show, whether it's the mythology that's created by the show or the mythology that's in universe with all their, you know, their religious stuff and the arc of the Mithraic and such?
As in, to clarify your question, are you asking me about the whole idea of atheism versus the religious side of the war?
I guess what I mean is the mythology, like the world that they're in. The world that they're in with, you know, androids and different planets and religious people versus atheists and wars, just like the world that they're in. What do you think about that world that's been created?
I mean, I think that the world that they're in has so much potential. And I think that's awesome. And it made me really excited because then it has themes of like identity, it has themes of nature versus nurture. Like you could go so deep with it. But that's why I started to get disappointed, because at least in the first episode, they didn't so much. I mean, but I do like I mean, so much potential. It has so much potential. And, you know, maybe they do tap into that stuff more as they go, but they didn't yet fully.
What about you, Michael? Were you blown away by the mythology of it?
Well, yeah. So one thing I found interesting I'll talk about is that Mother seems to be discovering her powers. Mm-hmm. Like at the one point she's talking to the boy Campion, and he's missing his sister that just died. And she starts talking to him in her voice. But he's like, but it's not the same. Like, I miss her, how she looks. And then all of a sudden, Mother grows out hair and changes her eyes. And she's like, I didn't know I could do that. And then later, even further later than that, she has her dream where she's flying and she's a golden goddess and Silver Surfer, as Ryan called it.
Yeah.
Even though she was kind of golden surfer.
Copper surfer.
Bronze surfer. So Bronze Surfer is like flying through the air. She's not really attacking anybody in the dream though. But just the fact that maybe that's part of her, maybe there's something in her programming where she's supposed to wake up later and find out that she has all these powers. But then even when these clerics come and try to take away Campion, she attacks them with a scream that melts their faces. But then later when she
obviously a scream that melts faces, am I right?
Yeah, obviously that's awesome. But then she steals the guy's ship and goes to the mothership, and then when she screams, she's like blowing people up. So obviously her powers are growing.
Right.
Her powers that she didn't even know that she had are just becoming stronger. And so that, to me, was awesome as well. Just the fact that she doesn't even know how powerful she is. But she is the most powerful being in the universe, probably.
Already?
Maybe. She can scream and blow up a room full of dudes, Ryan.
Right. And it was like...
It's right behind you.
It was
There's
like...
the aftermath.
But it wasn't even just an explosion, because there weren't like bones flying at her. Because if they exploded, I mean, I wrote in my notes exploded too, but it was more than an explode. It was like an incineration. It was
disintegration. Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Because there were no bones left. They were just splattered goo left. There was nothing. They were liquefied.
Pretty awesome. You're right.
Daralyn, what did you think about her special powers and the mythology of it all? You don't have to talk about mythology, but what did you think about, the fact that suddenly in this world, a robot can turn copper and scream and people will just liquefy?
I mean, the mother character's so interesting. She's like she's what even connected me to the story at all in the beginning, because when she had the baby that wasn't going to make it, Comedienne, and then there was that like intense, passionate moment where she like had tears coming out. But that's for me like what makes it partially confusing in the beginning, because I don't understand or didn't understand specifically like the extent of their emotions, because it seemed to me like the father had a totally different emotional set than she did. So right away I'm like trying to understand what's the difference between the mother and the father. And then I just think just a little more speaking on like the arc of the mother as the story goes, and more of her children die, like that's so painful. And we have that one moment where she first discovers her child dies, and she does like the only time in the whole thing that I felt like it was wolf-like is when she howls. Like that's the only time.
Right.
But,
the wolf howl was really strange, but you're right. That was at least an aspect of wolfdom, right?
She's obviously the wolf. I mean, like,
right.
And she's obviously a different kind of android than father too, because she's like bulletproof. Right. She's taking like bullet shots and just kind of regenerating, and then father dies from a bone through the chest. And
that was a very strong bone.
Yeah. It's just like I need to know the difference between mother and father, like right off the bat, or else I'm lost in that. And then I just feel like if mother does have emotion, then her whole demeanor would have changed if she had witnessed 5 children die one after another. Like we wouldn't see that like we're gonna make it, like that optimism, especially in Comedienne, how he still is like, I trust mother and father, but you don't like this. These are major life-changing events, 5 of them, one after another. You need to see I needed a little more than him just being wrapped in a dirty rag, like, because that's pretty much all that they changed when I saw sort of the before and after. And these were, for me, these parts were very important, because like I wanted to be very connected to the characters, and it was an opportunity to allow me to do so, but I spent too much energy trying to figure it out.
Did you guys expect all the kids to die in that first episode?
I did not. No.
Me neither.
No.
So that's good writing, because I didn't expect that either. And then when one died, the first one, Tally or whatever, my first thought was, oh, that's interesting. Now they're just 5 kids. Well, she did say that 5 was an important number and whatever. So I was like, that's really cool. Then forever they'll be like, oh, the 6th girl that died. And then they all just start going off one, and then there's 2 left. I was like, okay, well, those 2 kids left will now be the 2 main characters that go off and do that. No, okay, she died too. And I'm like, I kept trying to make these connections. I'm like, okay, well, that means they had 5 that died, and there's the 5 number again. But then we find out, no, they've had 12 kids. So that's 11 kids that died. Okay, well, then I give up. I'm just going to watch.
Well, they had 12 embryos, and they only gave birth to 6 of them.
Yeah.
The other ones must have been lost in the ship that went down.
Yeah. Or maybe they were just tired of them and they just throw them away. So that what Michael was saying earlier about how much he was gushing about it, gushing all over it, was I was thinking, what do you guys think is the most interesting aspect of this? Oh boy, Mike's already like, oh boy, this is a tough one. Oh boy. Whew. We like to ask the hard questions, Michael. What's the most interesting? What interested you the most, or was the most fascinating, or grabbed your attention the most?
I think the most fascinating thing was just the fact that Mother is kind of learning about the powers that she has. But since I already talked about that, I think I'll talk about what's interesting to me is, and I also talked about the war between the atheists and the holy rollers. So I won't talk about that either. I'll talk about what I probably think is the third most interesting thing to me.
What?
The fact that Mother kills Father. He is like trying to. First of all, she's like bleeding from the nose, and he's like, "Look, I need to fix you. You're breaking down. I need to fix you." And then she's like, "No." And then he tries to get to the ship, to radio the ship that he saw in the sky, which is these Mithraic guys. And then Mother freaked out. She was not having that. She was like, "Nope, you are not calling them, and you're not going back there. And in fact, I'm just going to kill you to make sure that you don't go back there." And then he's like, "Mother, we're out of sync." And then like after she kills him too, he's like, "I appear to be damaged." Like he didn't really. I guess he was such. I think that his programming was more. He was there to nurture these kids, and that's what he was there to do. Even though he's like, "Mother, our programming dictates that this one that was still born, we need to feed it to the others to strengthen them." So you have to wonder if they would have liquefied Campion or whatever like that and fed him to the other children, if maybe they would have survived, if they would have been stronger, and they would have maybe survived. They survived the illnesses and stuff like that they contracted. Obviously, the one dumb girl went off and fell into a hole, so she's an idiot.
Yeah, what the heck? I was like, is she really gonna just walk into the?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess she did.
Oh, she just wasn't really paying attention. She's like looking at her toy
and singing a great song, by the way. That was a fun song. Was it her that was singing the song about like, "I do pottery, but I have strong hands"? I was like, that's a nice, fun song. Daralyn, what was the most interesting and or fascinating aspect of this show to you?
To me, it was certainly how they were on a mission to make sure humans were atheists and that they would not have beliefs of fantasy, I suppose, or anything like that. Because I don't know, I want to know why. I mean, they didn't really get into why they had to make sure. Was it about efficiency? I'm not sure, like why the humans couldn't do that. Then that's pretty important. But I just thought it was so interesting how, because it's like people who are in pain, they go to fantasy to escape, and there's so much pain in this. So I just felt like it was such a good opportunity to put more of that in. The idea of poor Campion, just one thing after the next, and then there should have been more of him trying to escape from it, like more of a reaction to it all, really. But yeah, the most interesting thing to me is the dichotomy between forcing science and reality on people that really want to escape into fantasy or have religious beliefs, which I'm not saying religion is fantasy, but something like that. There's a connection.
You're saying something like that, though.
Something along those lines, but I'm not offending anyone. And yeah.
Mother can't hear you.
Ryan, what did you think was the most fascinating part?
I guess the world building. You know, I really love shows.
I knew that you were going to say that because that's your favorite.
I mean, that really goes along hand in hand with the mythology of the show. I mean, it kind of basically, it's just like universe in which the story resides, because it kind of goes hand in hand with the story. Sometimes there's this crazy universe in which the story resides, but the story isn't really about that universe so much. It's just they're in their own story amongst this universe. But in this one, obviously, the story is within that universe. That they go hand in hand. Like what's going on, in the spaceships and in the world behind them, and all that kind of stuff directly is impacting what's happening on the small scale, on the family and with the child and with mother and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's most interesting. My questions are mostly about like, what happened on the planet before? Why did these guys leave? Who are these people? All these kinds of things that's just kind of going on in the universe around them. I want to know. Okay, the main mystery is what's going on with Mother. Why is she such a nut all of a sudden? And why is she so angry and powerful and whatever? But that's the main one, I guess. But I also want to know what's going on in the world around them. I want to know why they're like this. I want to know more about this planet. What are all these dinosaurs? But by the way, way too many dinosaur bones in their little neighborhood. That is not realistic. How would there be so many dinosaur bones just like on top of each other? Like just these dinosaurs just were like just on each other, and they all just died and got buried like right there. I mean, that's a little much, but it looked
Maybe
cool.
it was like a dinosaur Royal Rumble, and they were all just kind of like vying to see who was going to be the king dinosaur. And then the one that walked away was the winner, and then everyone else just died.
Sounds likely.
And that would be also an interesting mythology of that world,
Mm-hmm.
which would be kind of interesting.
Well, so what I think that they're doing is it's kind of smart filmmaking too, to pepper these things in here, because you're
Right.
going to have a whole series or TV making, I guess, because you don't really want to give. First of all, so much happened in this first episode that
Yeah.
if you spent any time explaining in detail all these other things that happened, you would just get lost. So basically, what I was able to glean from the little glimpses that they gave us was there was a war on Earth or whatever planet they're from. I'm assuming it's Earth because they're on Kepler 22b, which is a planet that was named for Johannes Kepler, and he was
right.
one of the first astronomers, and like he discovered a bunch of things out in the universe, and so Kepler 22b was named by humans, obviously. So it seems to me that they came from Earth, but then Earth became uninhabitable. I think it even says in the summary that they're from Earth, but Earth became uninhabitable probably because of this war between the Mithraic, the holy guys, and then the atheists. And then it seems like from what I gathered from the little glimpses I got, that the atheists sent this craft out to Kepler 22b with just the 2 androids, so they don't need life support, and then the embryos, so they could travel light and they could go far, because that's what the Mithraic people were saying. Like, obviously, they're androids because they sent them here on a small ship with no life support. And so that's why, and the idea is they wanted to, like the atheists wanted to have children raised as atheists to maybe to battle these Mithraic people who might have been stealing their children and raising them as under their faith. Like the first thing they do when they get to the planet, they're like, "What faith are you?" Like,
right.
Is that any way to greet somebody? Like, why don't you say hi first? Like,
because that's what's most important in their world.
Yeah. Well, in the universe for them, yeah.
Number one thing is, who do you claim, dude?
Yeah.
Who do you claim?
Crips or Bloods.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Daralyn? Who do you claim?
Definitely Crips.
Okay. I hope YouTube doesn't get mad about that mention. Yeah. I don't know. Did you guys have, by the way, I was thinking about this too. Do you guys have like a favorite moment or a favorite scene or a favorite line that really kind of jumped out at you? I can tell you what mine was, possibly. Maybe there were more, but I really liked it when Mother was smiling, but clearly unhappy with the visitors.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, that was just beautifully acted. She's just like, "Hello, we would like you to leave now." And then she's like, "Okay, sure, you can eat food, but then go ahead and get the out of here."
Yeah.
"Oh, you want to stay? Well, you should probably. Oh, okay, you can stay over here. Here's some blankets, but then
The
you'll leave
first
on
thing in
first
the
light,
morning.
right?"
Yeah.
Okay. The whole time she was just like, I love that. That was perfectly written and perfectly acted. That was an A+ to me.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? Did you have a favorite scene that made you jump out of your socks?
So I'll just say the first thing was when she strips down naked with flat chest and no boobies, and they start plugging these things into her and into these containers. And so when I assumed, obviously, because I'm a human being, that she was going to get pregnant. But then,
Right.
right. Like 9 months later, and there's no baby bumps at all. You'd think she'd have six pack, but there's no bumps at all. But it turns out that the babies are born into this gel stuff, and she's just feeding them her android milk. And so that was probably the first scene that really struck me as very original and very interesting. And that's probably the one. That's probably the scene, because up to that moment, I was like, all right, they landed on the planet. Okay, they threw their balloon up and it turned into a house. Okay, like, but then this was like the first moment that really made me go, what? Wow.
Right. Very quickly, two quick nitpicks there. The android blood, which was milky, did remind me of Bishop on Aliens. I was like, okay, Ridley Scott, are you using the exact same stuff as before? It's not really an homage if you're doing it to yourself. Then you're just kind of, I don't know. Anyway, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was written in the script just coincidentally with milky stuff coming out. The other thing was their house, when they dropped their little balloon and it opened up, which was cool. I was like, how did these guys perfectly know how big that balloon was going to go to? Because it expanded all the way to his feet and all the way to his luggage and then opened up. And I was like, okay, I guess they're androids. They made the calculation. They're like, okay, 14.7 feet radius. Okay, perfect. Drop it. Because I was like, normally you give yourself a little space. Just be like, it reminded me of that old Adam and Eve joke of like, what's the first thing Adam said to Eve? Stand back. I don't know how big this thing gets. That's what the dad joke should have, because, father kept making dad jokes.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And he should have been like, hey, what did father say to mother when they were, whatever. Their version of that. Stand back. I don't know how big this thing gets, because it gets big.
That first joke that he told was just terrible.
The magnets?
Yeah.
No, what did the mailman say to the female man? When I saw your backside, I was repelled. However, now I see your front, and I find you very attractive. Yeah, magnets, yeah.
Magnets, there's the one. But that also brings us to you, Daralyn. What was your favorite mome?
Okay. I actually want to say two momes. I liked the magnet joke. That was the first thing that made me like the show. I was I liked it a lot. Yeah, I know. It's a groundbreaking comment. It was just cute. It was cute and it made me like that guy. And then the thing that the other mom I really liked that I already mentioned was when mother cried as she was reviving her baby. I just thought that was so impactful and intriguing.
You're a cat mother now, so too. I mean, you're a cat mother yourself, so you feel that.
I mean, I've lived it, honey.
How many cats do you have? Or let's save that for the interview portion. Boy, oh boy. Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Unless you want to just tell us right now and give us a number.
Let's save it.
Okay. Actually, I think we're just right at that point anyway. because we covered all. Yeah, I want to talk about Joshua Tree. I thought the location was beautiful and amazing, and I was curious as to where it was, although it may have been somewhere near Scandinavia for all we know, because you were saying that the lead actress, was probably Scandinavian. Also, there's what's his name, Ragnar from Vikings, that was in it. He's Scandinavian, so it makes me think. I wonder if this is like a Scandinavian production company.
WTF Vikings.
Good. Yeah. You guys want us to watch the first episode of Vikings? Say WTF Vikings in the comments below.
I know my wife would want us to.
Because that guy would be in it. Ragnarok, even though his name's Ragnar. Anyway, okay, but there's just so much to cover in this, but we only have so much time. You guys didn't get the impression that this was a little bit like Prometheus? I did get, it did feel like what I remember Prometheus looking like or feeling like, no?
I didn't see Prometheus, but I clicked on an article that was comparing this and Prometheus, and it said that it was shot in the exact same location, and they brought up clips to prove it.
Fun.
So you just answered two of my questions in one article, that is, because I was wondering about the location, and I was wondering why it reminded me of that. I don't even remember almost any of the movie of Prometheus, but when I was watching this movie, it reminded me of watching when they land on the planet on Prometheus and they get out and they're walking, and now that's why. It's because it was shot in the same location, huh? Did they say where it was?
No, actually it was a video. I'll send it to you.
All right. So sorry guys, no answers for you here, but I'll get the answer after this.
Danish. She's Danish.
Okay.
That's the answer to that question.
Can you, if you got a second, while we shift gears here and talk a little bit about Daralyn, do you want to see if you can Google where it was shot?
I will do that. I'm on it.
Nice. All right, Daralyn, this is it. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Remember when you originally said, how long do I have to talk about the show until we can talk about me? And I was like, like 45, 50 minutes. We've done it.
That's great. I definitely said that.
So Daralyn Kelleher, how are you? You are an actress and content creator out in Hollywood land, California, not in Hollywood proper. That's why I added the land to just kind of make it seem like a big thing. How are you enjoying your time in Los Angeles?
Oh, it's quite enjoyable. I'm far away from my family, which is hard. But aside from that, it's exciting being out here with all the stars.
Oh, that's sweet.
What about during the daytime, though? Poof.
Whoops.
Yeah, I just really love astronomy. Okay.
You used to also do a lot of stand-up comedy on the East Coast, right?
That's right.
How did that go for you? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where exactly was it? Did you want more of it?
Well, I did that in New York City. I spent 6 years there. I did comedy for 5.5 of those years. And I did stand up for a year when I first got out to LA out here. And how did it go? I mean, it was fascinating. It was a really interesting thing to do as a young person who lacked a lot of self-awareness, and you start to stand in front of the mirror of an audience and learn so much about yourself that you didn't know, and learn how people see you as well, and learn the difference between how you see yourself and how people see you, which that was a big lesson for me. So I love writing comedy. I love doing comedy. It's just, for me, after putting in all that time, I was just getting a lot of anxiety about it and needed to take a break from performing. But who knows? Maybe I'll go back, or perhaps I'll continue writing, which I love to do as well.
So Michael here has done a ton of stand-up comedy in the past. Very funny, by the way. But something that always fascinates me about stand-up comedians and just the world that they live in, which sounds so stressful to me, is how they can tell a joke that just kills one night and the next night that exact same joke dies, or you think you've got a gem of a joke and nobody laughs, or you test out a joke and people love it and you're like, I don't even know why that's funny. So my question to you, Daralyn, is what was the biggest surprise, good or bad, while doing stand-up comedy? Was it a joke that you expected to kill and it dropped, or was it a joke that you didn't think was going to be great and it just slayed people, probably your family?
Well, I don't know. I feel like the first part of your question is all about context. So I would do a lot of shows in Brooklyn, which was it was the artsy area, small shows, hipster shows, and a lot of shows in Manhattan. And it was just so interesting when you would go to Manhattan. It was more like working class audience, just like maybe they came in from New Jersey, they just got out of work, they still have their suit on or whatever, and so it's just like very different, and a lot of comics would comment on the difference between performing in Brooklyn and in Manhattan, because it was like, for me personally, like I always did better in Brooklyn. I always did better with a small room, and I don't know, maybe it came down to perception. Like they in Brooklyn saw me closer to how I saw myself, and I think that's the key to doing all stand up. But in Manhattan, I would try to make it more vanilla, try to like broaden what I was saying, and it helped me when I did that. But I still didn't have as strong of a connection, because we're just trying to be broad. People can sense that. So yeah, I agree. Context is everything. And also, I'll tell you a thing that happened, and perhaps this is, I'll say, is my biggest surprise, is just the guttural response that you develop reacting to an audience, or which then transfers over to reacting to people. Because like say like one person in the audience like shifts or sneezes or just clears their throat, like when you're on stage you're hyper aware of it, or at least me. Like, and then I would just be like someone would just go, oh, and I'd be like, oh, like, are they laughing? And it would be like a magnetic pull, and it would just be so fascinating, like how like those little things, like if you can capitalize on that one little moment and then make everyone in the room connect on that moment, just what it would do to the energy. So I'm gonna stop talking and say that's my answer. Great.
Don't stop talking too long though, because we have more questions for you.
Okay, so talking.
So then you've transitioned now from New York to LA, and now you're doing YouTube type stuff, which is going pretty well. You're very funny. Michael and I have definitely incorporated your skills into our channel. You've made some excellent videos and you're hilarious. You're doing like woodworking stuff now, right?
Yeah, I am doing woodworking as of present. I started a series on my channel called All By Myself, and it's this collection of videos I do with a bunch of people. Just kidding, it's all by myself. And okay, so
no, I'm just ashamed of myself that I didn't get that until you said just kidding. I was like, oh, that's right. It's called All By Myself. So I should have laughed, but I was more just mad at myself that I didn't get that joke by myself.
Yeah. I pre-thought of it, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I should say that every time. And like I did for the first time now. And so I started making YouTube videos on cats and productivity and fitness. And I really had no idea what topics I really should choose. And it's been a process of getting to know myself and how I bond with other people and what I want to put out there. And I threw productivity videos where I was like cleaning my apartment for the camera, which was, I don't know, I did it, but it made me, once my apartment was clean, like really clean, then I was like, well, what more can I do? Like, I need some furniture, damn it. And so I stumbled upon all these DIY furniture making videos, and I made an ottoman for my first video, and that was a journey. And now I've been making nightstands, and I finally made a nightstand that I feel pretty proud of. Like, it's not done, but it looks pretty mid-century modern. And I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere here.
They call that mid-mod.
Yeah, it looks mid-mod.
I know that because my wife is totally into that stuff. So.
Wait, does she really? Is that real? She says mid-mod?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were joking.
No, it's a thing. People say that thing. I'm not the only one that says that.
I thought we traveled into a weird place.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. We are going to include the link to your channel in the description box below. And by we, I mean Mike's probably going to do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. So everybody, check out Daralyn's hilarious channel. She's got so many things about productivity, about fitness, about kitties, which is what captured Michael and myself, her kitty videos, and now about woodworking. And but really the truth is, you know what the product is you. People watch it because you're funny and quirky and clever, and so they're like, well, she's doing stuff, but mostly I'm just watching how funny she is. That's the key.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
I think so.
That's a very kind compliment. Well, in my latest woodworking video, and they're taking me forever, by the way. It's been a month since I've gotten a video up because they take me so much time and I don't know what I'm doing. But I tried to do that. I tried to make it less about woodworking and more about the journey of woodworking. And I didn't have this material or tool, so that made me sad. And then I get to play out the sadness. I made it very dramatic and funny. I hope I tried.
Oh boy. So stay tuned for that, everybody. But thank you so much for joining us. We're definitely going to include all that stuff in the description box below. Guys, check it out. It really is cool. Subscribe to her channel. Laugh with her. Don't be sad if it takes her a month to do a woodworking video, but that's because she's working really hard on it. And now we have come to the final moments. Final moans of Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast. First of all, please remember to subscribe to our channel, just because it's a very free way of saying, hey guys, keep up the good work. It's a very free way of supporting it. Go ahead, Daralyn.
Thanks. Can I tell you how many cats I have before? Because you were gonna
yeah, we want to know that.
Yeah, because I thought people would be sad if they didn't know. I have 3 cats, and I've been saving cats in my garage because there's a feral colony. And right now I have 3 foster cats in my apartment too. And next week, actually, I am taking 2 of the foster babies to a new home in Massachusetts. I'm taking them across the country.
Wow.
I know. And there's a chance I may adopt the other foster baby, but no one knows.
So then you'll have 4.
No one knows.
You know, it's funny when you say I'm saving cats in my garage, because it sounds like you're storing them, like you're just hoarding cats. You're like, I'm just saving cats in my garage. There's plenty of room for them if I stack them. So like those dinosaur bones, you just stack them. No, but that's very cute, and we do love kitties.
I know.
Now,
Ryan grew up in a house where there was always foster kitties to play with. So that
we were saving cats in our house. We were hoarding them. But yeah, anyway, please be sure to hit the bell icon. Do a scream at the bell icon like Mother does. Be like, rah, and see if that makes it. And if it doesn't, just cheat. Give it a. And now we've come to a song portion that we like to call The Terrible Twos.
The Terrible Twos. It's a terrible name for a terrible segment.
Daralyn, you remember how the second verse goes?
No.
Okay. So it's 2 questions. It's the final 2 questions of the day. And number 1, here it is. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. Scale of 1 to 10. Take off your gushing hat and put on your serious critic hat. Scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the first episode of, what was this? Dances with Wolves, Raised by Wolves.
It's not Dances with Wolves, Ryan. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna break tradition, and I'm gonna say that this is a 9.8.
8. Yeah, I knew that was, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was going to be a 9.8. Well, first I thought you were going to say 10, but then when you went to 9, I was like, he's going 9.8 because he's not going to slap it in the face and give it a 9.5.
Well, usually we'll say like it's like either the number or a 0.5. But I'm just going to go ahead and break tradition and go 9.8. And I'll tell you why. Because number one, I was enthralled the entire time. Watching this. Every scene was beautifully shot. Every scene was engaging. Every scene left me wanting more. And then at the end, I was completely, first of all, the whole show blew me away. But at the end, I was just completely blown away. Any little bit of me that was left that was not yet blown away.
So you look like this in your living room, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You were just like
I was like exploding the whole time.
Obliterated.
And then there was a little bit left of me, and at the end, it completely obliterated me. Yeah, I was completely just in shock and blown away the whole time. I guess I keep saying blown away, so blown away.
If you had to describe your facial reactions when watching it, what animal would you say that your facial reactions look the most like?
Whatever animal goes like this.
Owl. An owl. What?
That's the animal. That animal that does those faces.
So I'm glad you broke precedent and made it a 9.8. And I'll tell you why. It's because last week when we reviewed Cobra Kai, I was vacillating between 8.5 and 9, and I wanted to give it an 8.8. But then I ended up giving it an 8.5 because I was like, well, it's not quite a 9. But
you just didn't have the courage.
Right. And now that you were the first person to step on that fertile land that is increments of 0.1 rather than increments of 5, then now from here on out, I can give a 4.7 or a 9.1. Thank you for unleashing these chains or releasing or whatever it is. Anyway.
I'm a liberator. What can I say?
Thank you. Daralyn, now that you are free to move about the number system, what would you give this episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
I never even knew I was shackled. 8.4.
Ah.
Yeah, it's higher than you thought, right?
What were you going to give it before Michael said you can give 0.1?
8.2. I went up a little bit.
Really?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. 8.2 was my original, and then I heard Michael's rating, and I was like, I could give a little more. And I don't know, like, again, like, I'm hard on it because I love it. And yeah, and so maybe if I didn't hear Michael gush about it, I might have even gone down to like 7.7. It could have been that low, but no, it couldn't have been. It couldn't. That was too low. But it did have my attention the whole time, and that deserves credit. Like it's interesting. It's better than a lot of stuff out there, and I usually play games on my phone when I watch things, and I didn't need to do that while this was happening.
Well, you watch things with your eyes on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I listen to things and sometimes glance up at them.
Okay. So,
Here we go.
Yep, here we go. I should have thought about. I never think about my answer until it's my turn, which is
you have two people to talk before you that you can think about.
I know, but I'm just listening to your stories, and it's fast. I just like to hear what you guys have to say, and then I panic, and I'm like, oh shoot, now I need to create a story from my brain. So I guess my story is scale of 1 to 10. What am I feeling on this one? This one again, I hate to say this, but this one again, I was between 8.5 and 9. So now I have to put my money where my mouth is, don't I? And give it an 8.8. Yeah, it's not a 9 because the last 10 minutes to me were not as good as most of it.
You're talking about the part that blew me completely away.
Right. Just because most of the show was about the storytelling, and this was more about, action or a twist, which was all great. And maybe that'll end up becoming a better part of the overarching 10 episode story or however many seasons long. But as far as just this episode, I was like, okay, that's cool, I guess. But, now she's in God mode, which kind of makes the video game less interesting because now you just have a god. But obviously, I'm sure it'll make it more interesting later on. They know better than I do about what the story's about. But I was enjoying the enemy mine story, and I was enjoying what was happening, and I was guessing incorrectly every step of the way, which is good. So I guess I'll give it an 8.8. Very close to giving an 8.5. Right now, Michael's saying, well, why not an 8.6 then?
Yeah, how about an 8.9 or a 9.2?
Nope, no
or
chance.
Or a 9.3 or a 9.4 or a 9.99999.
That being said, yeah, I'll stick with the 8.7. Final answer.
Hey, you can't go down.
I was going to go down to 8.6, but then I was like, I'll split the difference. Too much pressure on me. 8.7. Finally, I got to get the pressure off. I'm stressing out.
8.8 it is.
So, final question is, for the purposes, oh boy, Mike, I know what you're going to say. For the purposes of this podcast,
you know what I'm going to say.
The purposes of this podcast, we had to watch the first episode of Dances with Wolves. I was going to call it Prometheus, so Dances with the Wolves is at least closer.
Dances with Prometheus.
But now that this podcast is over, of your own volition, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode?
Well, I know that because I've been gushing about it so much, you're thinking, oh, he's going to say yes. Of course he's going to want to watch the next episode. But I'm going to say yep. I'm going to say yep. I'm going to watch the next episode. So
Twist. Is it even close?
Huh?
Is it even close to a tough decision?
No.
Okay.
No, I would definitely wholeheartedly, fully be blown away completely again with the second episode.
So you're going to be like Odo. You're going to gather up all the parts of you, form back up just so you can just get blown away the next night.
Constable Odo, for those that don't know, I'm probably speaking to Daralyn mostly right now, was a character in Star Trek Deep Space Nine who was a shapeshifter. Oh, you know Odo?
No, I don't.
You're just nodding your head. Okay. He was a shapeshifter that he could turn into this goo and kind of spread himself all over the place. But then what Ryan's just saying is like, I'm just going to collect myself up just to be gooed all over again.
Thank you. Can you do that with every joke for me?
Ryan's jokes? Yeah. I mean, for most people, they need explaining anyway. So.
Yeah.
But do they deserve it?
Probably not. No, you're right about that.
Yeah. So, Daralyn, final question goes to you. I mean, you had to watch it. You watched it. It seems like you enjoyed it. Of your own volition now, would you watch the second, theoretically speaking?
Even for me, the critic, it is not a tough decision. My answer is duh.
Duh, Ryan. Duh.
So for those of you keeping score at home, there's one yes and one
yup.
Duh. One yup and one duh. So, Daralyn, am I correct in assuming that means that's an affirmative duh? Like, duh, of course I would. Not like
a
duh.
no-brainer.
I don't know the difference between yes and no.
Yeah, Michael, can you explain this to him? Because he's not getting it.
It means it's a no-brainer that she would watch it again with no thought.
That's
a yes.
right.
That's it. See, Daralyn, out of the same thing with the show, and you wanted clarity. Out of this podcast, we need clarity.
Oh.
Because people are dying to know.
Oh, you're the one that says you need clarity. You're the one who says things wrong, dances with wolves or raised by wolves. I think you called Daralyn derelict on the text message.
That was an autocorrect.
What the hell?
He does that to everybody, though, so you shouldn't feel bad about it.
He calls everyone derelict.
No, he makes up weird names for everybody.
Now I started to look at my notes to see, because I was like, I changed a bunch of names for these guys. Oh, yeah, I was calling that one dude, I was calling him Ragnar, and I called the mom Karen, because she went full Karen, by the way. She went full Karen on that. She's like, I need to talk to the manager and blow him up on this ship. Yeah.
I think we found our soundbite for the opening of the show right there.
Maybe you're right. Oh. Well, let me give you my answer before I give you two final things that I wanted to make sure not to forget. My answer is no. Not that great. So these other two things, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it's a yes. I would. It's good.
You little scamp.
Yeah. It deserves it.
Raffle.
It's good. It's good. It's on HBO Max, so I don't know if it's worth getting a whole thing to its own, but it was a very smart move to put it on YouTube, the first episode, so that people are going to want to watch it and then get hooked on it. But something I want to throw out there very quickly was when I watched it, I looked down at the comments, and there were two comments that made me giggle inwardly. The second funniest comment was, quote, since I don't have HBO, I see it as she won, series over. Like, that's cool. You could just be like, all right, she won.
Yeah, that's it.
Very smart. But the funniest comment, I thought that was the funniest comment, and I was just going to bring that up, but then I saw one even funnier that dethroned that. Quote. That's already made
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Quote. I didn't pay attention. I smoke weed and I thought it was just a trailer. Didn't realize I'm watching the full episode 20 minutes in.
Took him 20 minutes to realize that.
Especially because there's no capital letters. There's no punctuation. It's all just one stream of 20-minute consciousness. So kudos to those people for those great comments. And kudos to you guys for the great comments below that you're going to give us.
Especially the comments that say, WTF Family Guy or WTF American Dad, because there's an alien in that.
And also especially the comments that tell us what you thought of this series so we can keep the discussion going.
And tell us what you thought about what we thought. And then we'll comment back and tell you what we thought about what you thought about what we thought.
And then Daralyn will give us an update in the comment section below on how many kids she has this week. Because you went from 3 to 6 to maybe 4. Who knows?
It's a mystery.
I will do that.
Stay tuned.
Great. Awesome. So now we can finally get to the part that I like that Michael says.
This podcast was?
Man, I just can't do it anymore. I'm too blown away. Okay. So this podcast was a deep dive into what we thought about this series.
This podcast blew me away.
This podcast was a delightful journey of laughter and sadness. No, laughter and drama and just exhilaration.
And then a little more laughter.
I like that when you said sadness, you kind of fell apart. You kind of got sad. You're like, I feel every emotion that I say. So, Michael, can we please hear the thing? I'm like addicted to the crack that is Mike's line that I just like, just say the line. It's like it's a catchphrase. I'm like, just say the catchphrase.
He's so interested. He's so excited to hear my catchphrase that he forgets to do the thing that we say at the end of the show, which is this podcast was.
Pretty much like 60% of the time, I forget, right?
Yeah. So what he really wants me to say is, ladies and gentlemen out there, don't forget to watch the first of things.
That's not the line. No, it
You
is.
guys you're adorable how you go back and forth like this. It's like you're finishing each other's sentences. You're like in each other's heads. Yeah. It's cute.
You're ruining Mike's freeze frame. Hang on.
Don't make me retract it. I'll just say that Michael's cute and you are not.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time on Falling Towers. Oh, by the way, 20th anniversary. We've been doing crazy things for 20 years. Band stuff and rock and stuff and videos. We're celebrating 20 years of Falling Tower. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.